Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. We're coming off of a 51-10 win over NC State. That was a dominant win. Sometimes I feel like a select few of us get a little spoiled, right? We go out, we dominate Chattanooga. We see Nico taking the top off. We go, man, he is him, Nico for Heisman. And then we play a top 25 team. We go out, dominate 51-10, and some people still don't feel like it's good enough. But I think that is a minority. I think most of us are waking up on this Sunday morning. We're celebrating. We're excited. I'm interested to see where Tennessee ends up in the rankings. Having a conversation with somebody last night, they have to be in the conversation. 51-10, total domination over a top 25 program. And I get it. Tennessee seemed to start a little slow. It looked different. But look, this team is set up to play complementary football, and that's what you want. Sometimes they may lean a little bit more on their defense. Sometimes you may see Nico go out there and take over a game, but they still outgained NC State 460 to 143 in total yards. This defense was dominant. But I don't think the offense was necessarily as bad as some people thought. 249 yards on the ground. You average 5.7 yards per carry, 211 yards through the air. I think the middle eight was pretty big in this football game. You led 17-3. You had a minute and a half left. You had the football on the NC State 44. You're kind of thinking, all right, if we can go get a touchdown here, if we can go into the locker room up 24-3, you got to feel pretty happy with where we're at in this football game. You get a holding call, makes it a little tough, but you still get 3 points. You go into the locker room up 20-3 at halftime. You come out, start that third quarter. What do? You go on a 10-play, 75-yard drive, 4 minutes, 33 seconds. Great play calling. I talked about this last night. I loved the play calling on that series. Some of the things I liked was you motion squirrel on 3rd and 3. You roll Nico to the left. That's a tough throw. Rolling the opposite way. Nico puts it on the money, hits him in the flats. You pick up 22 yards there. 3rd and 2, you run Sampson. Man, I'm thinking in the back of my head, need to get Nico involved here in the run game. What do? They go for it on 4th and 3. Little read option. Nico keeps it, picks up 7 yards. And then something I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the video, they set up the play-action touchdown to Miles Kitselman. Tennessee takes the lead 27-3, 10 and a half minutes left to go in the third quarter, and they never looked back. Look, we've had a night to sleep on it. Sometimes we're emotional after a game. Sometimes we yell and scream. Sometimes we celebrate. Sometimes we blame people. We've had a night to sleep on it. Let everything calm down and settle. We're going to talk about it. This is the day after. But do me a favor. I need you guys to smash the thumbs up just below the video. Do that YouTube stuff. It's quick, free, and easy, but it does help this channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you're new to the Talkin VAWLS Network, welcome. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. We're not media. We're not journalists. We don't pretend to be any of that stuff. What this channel is for the fans, by the fans. If you like what we do, make sure you subscribe. Click that bell for notifications. You're not going to miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. Got the fan call-in show coming up later tonight, every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. You guys, the members of the channel, you can hit that join button over there. The members of the channel get to come on the show, drive the show every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Monday morning, pour a cup of coffee. Me and Eric Kane of VolQuest.com going to bring you the morning show. We're going to listen to Josh Heupel's press conference, all kinds of fun content. We're playing EA Sports College Football on Tuesdays, Talkin VAWLS live on Wednesday nights. Get in where you fit in. If you like what we do, subscribe, come back, hang out. This is a good place to be if you want to talk Tennessee football all day, every day. But let's get into it. Let's talk about the win, 51-10 over NC State. I think it starts with this Tennessee defense, a defense that hasn't given up a touchdown in the last 3 games. 0. Shut out Iowa. Chattanooga, they allowed a field goal. NC State, you had to pick 6. Other than that, this defense gave up a field goal. That's pretty dang good. Last night, 3 turnovers, 13 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Those of you looking for that defensive line a week ago against Chattanooga, I think we found it against NC State. You know, the way they attack the ground game, that's something that Rodney Garner's defensive line has done since he's returned to Tennessee. Last week against Chattanooga, I think they were right around 2 yards per carry on the ground. This week against NC State, 39 yards rushing. They averaged 1.4 yards per carry. Dominic Bailey had a big sack fumble. You know, Tennessee leading 27-3. He gets that sack fumble. Tennessee recovers on the NC State 22. That was kind of all she wrote. That felt like, all right, ball game. That's a wrap. This thing is done. Jacoby Thomas also got home on a blitz. I know everybody giving me a hard time about Will Brooks, rightfully so. I love to eat some crow with Will Brooks. We're going to talk about it in a second. But I think Jacoby Thomas looks athletic. I think he looks good coming on the blitz. I think he plays physical. I think he plays violent. I think Jacoby Thomas can be a good football player for this team. But the turning point, the real turning point in this football game was the pick six by Will freaking Brooks. You got to love it. 85-yard return at the time. Tennessee's leading 10-3. And I get it when I talk about some of the negativity or some of the people questioning Tennessee on social media. I think it's because it did feel like they started slow, right? They were up 10-3 at the time, but this thing felt like a struggle. You know, they come out, trick formation. Concepcion gets lined up one-on-one with Boo Carter, 28 yards down the field, inside run for 10. They pop off another 10-yard run. They're in the red zone, and we're going, all right, they're about to tie this thing up. How are we going to respond? How are we going to bounce back? You know how it is, man. As a Tennessee fan, early in a game, you feel like every single possession matters. If we don't score every possession, then we're in trouble. And that's the way it felt. Had they scored right there, and it's a tie football game, that felt like a 14-point swing. Will Brooks with the pick six, and then, you know, we're off to the races at that point. I love the way Keenan Peely played yesterday. Plays violent, plays physical. He got the late hit, but that's all right. That was a borderline call. He's playing to the whistle. I don't mind the aggression there. Finished the day with 4 tackles. Arian Carter had 3 tackles. Tyree West looks like he is going to be that dude, and that makes me happy. I felt like he showed a little bit of it in that bowl game against Iowa. We saw it a week ago against Chattanooga. 3 tackles last night. Omar Norman Lott, Joshua Joseph, Bryson Eason. So many guys on that defensive line that you could talk about coming out of this NC State game. Something that I like that somebody in the comment section, in the live chat last night mentioned during the post-game show, and then I confirmed it later last night, that NC State was 3 of 4 on third downs on the very first drive of the game, right? When they were dinking and dunking and going down the field, we're in panic. Down in that drive, they didn't convert a third down the rest of the night. Finished 3 of 12, also 0 for 2 on fourth down. Now, Josh Heupel asked about his defense last night. He's had a quote very, very similar to this before, but I still want to play this quote. Coach Heupel talking about this defense last night.
Let me just say one more thing. The standard at Tennessee is to be elite on defense. This is the home of Reggie White, Al Wilson, Eric Berry.
Pretty well in the
Coach Heupel looks angry. Coach Heupel does not look happy. You're talking about a guy that beat Chattanooga 69-3. He goes and beats NC State 51-10, and he's sitting there beating that hand on his arm. He is not happy. I think he knows his football team is good. I think the standards are high, and I think Josh Heupel expects greatness from this football team in 2024. But you got to praise this Tim Banks defense, man. You go back to when Josh Heupel took over and Tim Banks came in, the mass exodus of players, the lack of depth on the defensive side of the ball. You gave up almost 30 points a game in 2021, 90th in the country. But he kept grinding, kept working, kept recruiting. 2022, they gave up almost 23 points a game. That's 36th in the country. A year ago, 20 points a game, 23rd in the country. You're 2 games into this thing. You've allowed 6.5 points per game. You got Kent State next week, which is a glorified scrimmage. Tim Banks is more than likely going to be gone after this year. So you better drink it in. You better soak it in. You better enjoy the ride. And Tim Banks is going to be a head coach somewhere in college football next season. Go ahead and book it. I truly believe that. Let's jump over and talk about the offensive side of the ball, because it felt off, right? I think most of us would be in agreement. It didn't feel the same as it did a week ago. Boogie, what is wrong with the offense? Nico's not taking the top off. Didn't feel the same. Didn't feel elite. Didn't feel electric. We still had 460 yards of total offense, 249 yards on the ground. You averaged 5.7 yards per carry. Dylan Sampson ended the day with 20 carries, 132 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 256 yards and 5 touchdowns through 2 games for him. I'm keeping my eye on D-Sant for a 1,200-yard season. Just so dang good, so electric, makes guys miss, patient, just a great running back for this team. Deshaun Bishop also added 42 yards, had 4.2 yards per carry. I thought he looked good. Cam Seldon's running back too. He was out, missed a game. I think hopefully he will be back next week. But what I loved about Deshaun Bishop was the hustle play on the pick six. And again, we talked about this last night. Ball game's over at that point. Tennessee's got this thing sealed. It's done. But Deshaun Bishop shows the hustle to run down that play on that pick six and give his all for Tennessee. And I think that's the culture. I think that's a championship mindset that Josh Heupel has built at Tennessee. So did the offense look a little different? Yeah. Nico wasn't throwing it all over the yard. Nico wasn't throwing it over the top. Nico wasn't torching them. Coach Jay last night talked a little bit about the 3-3-5 defense and what that does to you and how you have to attack that and why that makes it so difficult to throw it over the top and have the big plays. If you missed the postgame show, go back and give it a watch. Nico still finished the day 16 of 23, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, almost a 70% completion rate. Also had 8 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. The 31-yard quarterback draw for a touchdown, just electric. How quick he got north and south. He saw the gap. He saw the hole, and he was like, I got to get there in a hurry. He's off to the races, 31-yard touchdown. Also thought he used his feet well in the passing game to extend plays, right? Extend plays. The touchdown to Miles Kitselman that got called back for a phantom call for Dane Davis being too far down the field. Just a great play, extending the play, buying time, throwing back across the field to Kitselman, who can walk in for a touchdown, but it gets called back, so I digress. A lot of 12 personnel. You saw this on Twitter. Can't wait to talk about Coach Rice about this, and I think Coach Jay has some questions for Coach Rice as well. The 12 personnel, and I get what Coach Rice was tweeting about, saying, hey, man, stay true to who you are. Go out and be who you are, because at the time the offense was struggling and there's a frustration there. But after the game, this is a quote from NC State's head coach. He said they got into bigger personnel, something they haven't done a lot on film. There was a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 back tonight with their offense. And so, credit them for changing it up, because if you watch them, most of their formations you're going to see are 4 wide or 1 tight end formations. And so I thought we did some good things that way, but we did not, as the game went on, stop the run, and we are out there a lot in second half defensively because of how we played on offense in the second half. So Josh Heupel sees something on tape. I love the creativity. You see something on tape you think you can take advantage of. We've heard him talk about how talented this tight end room is, and you go out in the 12 personnel, so you got 2 tight ends. Kitselman has 3 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown. Could have been even more. Could have been 4 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Holden Stace had a catch for 18 yards and a touchdown. Ethan Davis, 2 catches for 14 yards. So a position group that we didn't utilize at all last year, the tight end position, all 3 of those guys all have touchdowns through just 2 games. And they talked about it on the broadcast, talked about how Tennessee sets up the run, using those tight ends in the block game. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Then you have Kitselman sell the run, make some contact, and then just sneak out wide open. Nico, I could have hit that throw. That's how wide open he is. Josh Heupel's creativity. I talked about it earlier with what they did with Squirrel, but also I love the way they got the tight ends involved, the little tunnel screen that you use to get the tight ends involved. They've done the little middle screen to the tight end a couple of times. I don't mind Josh Heupel seeing something on tape and saying, hey, we're going to roll 2 tight ends out there, do something a little different. And I think that is the versatility of this football team. I think they can beat you so many freaking ways. Did Nico play elite? Did Nico play electric? Are we screaming Nico for Heisman after this one? No, but he doesn't have to. And that's the beautiful thing that we talked about going into this season is Nico's got so many weapons around him that he doesn't have to be that championship quarterback every single week. But here's also the beautiful thing about it. At any point in time, Nico can go out and dominate. He can go out and take over a game. And as Coach Jay said last night on the post-game show, you're not going to see this 3-3-5 defense very much throughout the rest of the way. What do you guys think? Jump into the comment section. 2-0, 51-10 win over a top 25 program. You got some things you want to complain about or gripe about? That's great. Put them in the comment section. We'll get into them. Who were your players of the game, offensively, defensively? Want to talk to you guys in the comment section. But as always, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up on the way out the door. You can go check out the Talkin VAWLS merchandise, bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. Also a quick shout out to all the members of the channel. Could not do this without you. Think about hitting that join button over there. It's just $1 a month. The more you give, the more you have access to. If you want to come on the fan call-in show every Sunday night, also the tailgate show an hour before kickoff. We usually start at Talkin VAWLS Elite, and then we start moving our way down the tiers. But that is going to do it for this one. A little long-winded, but I had a lot I wanted to talk about on this day after video. But this is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name's Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.